The glass doors of First Heritage Bank gleamed under the midday sun in downtown Memphis, Tennessee, their polished surface reflecting the hum of a city alive with the rumble of delivery trucks and the chatter of pedestrians in pressed suits. It was a Thursday in early spring, the air crisp with the scent of blooming dogwoods, when an old man shuffled through those doors, his steps slow but deliberate, his worn boots scuffing the marble floor. Isaiah Brooks was 78, his face a map of deep lines etched by time, his gray hair thinning beneath a frayed cap, his hands clutching a burlap sack that sagged with something heavy. His coat, threadbare brown wool, hung loose on his slight frame, and his eyes, sharp despite their years, scanned the bustling lobby. Tellers clicked away at computers, their nails tapping in rhythm while customers in crisp blazers queued up, their briefcases gleaming. Isaiah approached the counter, his sack thudding softly as he set it down, and cleared his throat, his voice raspy but firm. "Afternoon," he said to a young teller named Kelsey, her blonde ponytail bobbing as she glanced up. "This bank belongs to me." The words landed like a pebble in a pond, rippling through the lobby as Kelsey blinked, then burst into a laugh that echoed off the vaulted ceiling. "You own this bank?" she said, loud enough to turn heads, her giggle joined by a chorus from the line, mocking, disbelieving. A man in a pinstripe suit, Greg, chuckled, "Nice one, Pops." Isaiah stood still, his gaze unwavering, and what happened next would silence every laugh in that room, a twist so bold it'd rewrite their day. But first, where are you watching from in the USA? Drop your city below, and if you love a story where the underdog rises, stick with Raven Stories. Isaiah's about to turn this bank upside down. First Heritage Bank stood as a pillar of Memphis wealth, its marble lobby a cathedral of finance, its walls lined with brass plaques touting decades of prosperity, its chandeliers casting prisms across the floor. Outside, the Mississippi River glittered in the distance, framed by sleek SUVs and the occasional horse-drawn carriage clopping past, a nod to the city's old soul. Inside, the air hummed with the clatter of keyboards and the murmur of deals, loans approved, accounts balanced, while tellers in starched uniforms moved with practiced grace. Isaiah Brooks cut a stark figure against this polish, his boots leaving faint dust trails, his sack a rough relic beside the gleaming counters. Kelsey leaned forward, her ponytail swinging, her voice dripping with amusement as she waved a hand. "Sir, this is First Heritage. You must be confused. Maybe you mean the food bank down the street." Her quip drew snickers from the line. Greg adjusting his tie, a woman in heels named Dana rolling her eyes, while a security guard, Tony, edged closer, his hand resting on his radio. Isaiah's lips twitched, a faint smile flickering, and he tapped the sack, his tone steady. "No confusion here, miss. I built this place." The lobby buzzed, laughter swelling. "Built it? With what, duct tape?" Greg called, smirking, while Tony stepped up, his voice gruff. "Let's not waste time, old man. Move along." Isaiah didn't budge, his eyes locking on Kelsey's, and she faltered, her giggle fading. "I'll wait," he said simply, settling onto a bench, the sack at his feet. Dana whispered to Greg, "He's got nerve. I'll give him that." Greg shrugged, his tone dry. "Or he's lost it." Across the room, a quiet customer, an older woman named Ruth in a floral scarf, watched Isaiah, her brow creasing. "He doesn't look crazy," she murmured to herself. The tension simmered, a spark waiting to ignite. Paragraph 3. The Mockery and the Crowd's Reaction. Isaiah Brooks sat on the lobby bench, his burlap sack resting like a silent companion, its faded stitches a contrast to the polished marble beneath his boots, while First Heritage Bank churned around him with the rhythm of a well-oiled machine. Kelsey had returned to her station, her ponytail bouncing as she whispered to a coworker, Mia, who stifled a laugh, her manicured nails flashing as she typed. "He says he owns the bank," Kelsey hissed, loud enough for the line to hear, and the mockery spread like wildfire. Greg adjusted his pinstripe suit, his voice booming. "Hey, Pops, if you're the owner, where's your corner office? In that sack?" Dana joined in, her heels clicking as she smirked. "Maybe he's got the deed in there, written in crayon." The lobby erupted, chuckles and snorts bouncing off the chandeliers while Tony, the guard, crossed his arms, his radio crackling as he muttered, "This guy's a nutcase." Isaiah sat still, his hands folded over his cap, his eyes tracing the brass plaques as if reading a story no one else could see. "Laugh if you want," he said, his voice cutting through the noise, steady as a riverbed. "Truth don't need your permission." The taunts faltered, Kelsey's smirk wobbled, Mia's typing slowed, and Ruth, the woman in the floral scarf, leaned forward, her voice soft. "He's not joking. Look at him." Greg waved her off, his tone sharp. "He's delusional, lady, probably begging for attention." But Dana's eyes narrowed, her smirk fading as Isaiah opened the sack, pulling out a stack of yellowed papers tied with twine, his fingers steady despite their tremble. The lobby hushed, curiosity spiking. "What's he got?" Mia whispered while Tony tensed, his hand hovering over his radio. The hook sank in. Isaiah's calm was a storm brewing, and the laughter was about to choke on itself. The lobby of First Heritage Bank tightened with a tension that seemed to dim the chandeliers, their prisms flickering as Isaiah Brooks untied the twine on his stack of papers, his gnarled fingers moving with a precision that belied his years. The marble floor gleamed beneath his boots, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and the faint hum of air conditioning, while the crowd leaned in, their mockery morphing into unease. Kelsey crossed her arms, her ponytail still as she snapped, "What's that supposed to be, your treasure map?" Greg laughed, but it was thinner now, his pinstripe suit shifting as he edged closer. "Yeah, old man. Show us your proof. This I gotta see." Isaiah didn't flinch, his eyes lifting to meet theirs, his voice a low rumble. "You'll see plenty soon enough." Tony, the guard, had had enough. His broad frame loomed as he stepped forward, his radio crackling, his tone sharp. "All right, that's it. Put that junk away and get out before I drag you out." He reached for the sack, but Isaiah pulled it back, his grip firm, his voice rising. "Touch this, and you'll regret it more than you know." The lobby froze. Kelsey's jaw dropped, Mia gasped, and Ruth clutched her scarf, her whisper urgent. "He means it. Don't push him." Greg snorted, his bravado clinging. "Regret? He's bluffing. Kick him out, Tony." But Dana's eyes widened, her heels stepping back as Isaiah laid the papers on the bench, their edges curling with age. "Call your manager," he said, his tone a command that pierced the noise. Tony hesitated, his hand dropping, and Mia darted to the phone, her voice shaky. "Mr. Langston, he needs to see this." The crowd buzzed. "He's crazy." "No, he's serious." And the hook tightened. Isaiah's stand was a fuse, and the bank was about to spark. The lobby of First Heritage Bank held its breath as the glass-walled manager's office swung open, the click of polished loafers cutting through the hum of whispers and the rustle of Isaiah Brooks's papers on the bench. Mr. Peter Langston emerged, a lean man in a gray suit, his silver hair slicked back, his wire-rimmed glasses glinting under the chandeliers as he crossed the marble floor with a stride that spoke of control. The air shifted, the scent of his cologne mingling with the tension, while Kelsey straightened, her ponytail trembling as she stammered, "Mr. Langston, this guy says he owns the bank." Greg chuckled, his pinstripe suit crisp as he added, "Yeah, with a sack of trash. Can you believe it?" Langston's eyes flicked to Isaiah, then to the papers, his brow creasing as he adjusted his glasses. "What's this about?" he asked, his voice smooth but edged, a man used to dismissing nonsense. Isaiah rose, his boots scuffing the marble, his sack at his side, and met Langston's gaze, his tone steady. "I'm Isaiah Brooks. This bank's mine. Started it 50 years ago, and I've got the proof right here." The lobby erupted, laughter from Greg, a gasp from Mia, while Tony smirked, his radio silent now. "Yours," Langston said, his lips twitching with disbelief. "Sir, First Heritage has been here since—" Isaiah cut him off, tapping the papers. "Since I laid the first dollar down. Check your records." Ruth's eyes widened, her scarf slipping as she whispered, "He's not lying. I can feel it." Dana's heels shifted, her voice low. "This is wild." Langston hesitated, then took the papers, his fingers brushing the yellowed edges, and the hook landed hard. Something big was breaking, and the laughter was about to turn to dust. The lobby of First Heritage Bank shimmered with a nervous energy as Mr. Peter Langston flipped through Isaiah Brooks's papers, the chandeliers casting jagged light across the marble, the air thick with the rustle of old pages and the murmur of a crowd caught between scorn and curiosity. Isaiah stood tall despite his stoop, his worn boots planted firm, his burlap sack a quiet sentinel at his feet, while his eyes tracked Langston's every move, sharp as a hawk's. The papers were a patchwork of faded ink and creased corners. Deeds, contracts, a handwritten ledger with dates stretching back to 1975, their edges brittle but their weight undeniable. Langston's glasses slipped down his nose, his brow furrowing as he muttered, "This can't be. Brooks Savings and Loan?" Kelsey leaned over the counter, her ponytail drooping, her voice a squeak. "Savings and Loan? That's not us," Greg snorted, his pinstripe suit shifting as he crossed his arms. "It's a scam. Guy's a con artist." But Ruth shook her head, her floral scarf bright as she spoke up. "No. My dad banked with Brooks years ago. It merged or something." Dana's eyes narrowed, her heels silent now. "Merged? With this bank?" Langston's fingers paused on a signature, Isaiah Brooks, bold and looping, and he looked up, his voice tight. "You're claiming you founded Brooks Savings and it became First Heritage?" Isaiah nodded, his tone steady. "Not claiming. Telling. I put my life's work into this place." The lobby buzzed. Tony's smirk faded, Mia's typing stopped, and the hook sank deeper. Isaiah's truth was a tide rising, and the bank was starting to sway. The lobby of First Heritage Bank crackled with a tension that seemed to bend the marble underfoot, the chandeliers flickering as Mr. Peter Langston clutched Isaiah Brooks's papers, his gray suit wrinkling at the elbows, his glasses fogging with the heat of his doubt. Isaiah stood before him, his worn coat a stark contrast to the polished counters, his burlap sack a rough anchor in the storm brewing around them, his eyes steady despite the years etched into his face. Langston adjusted his tie, his voice rising, sharp with skepticism. "This is absurd, Mr. Brooks. First Heritage was established by a board. Corporate records don't list you anywhere." Greg clapped, his pinstripe suit gleaming as he jeered. "See? Told you. Fake." Kelsey nodded, her ponytail bouncing again, her tone smug. "He's wasting our time. Call the cops, Mr. Langston." But Ruth stepped forward, her floral scarf fluttering, her voice firm. "Check the history. Brooks Savings was real. My dad swore by it." Dana tilted her head, her heels clicking once as she murmured, "She's right. Something's off here." Tony flexed his hands, his radio crackling as he growled, "I say we toss him. Papers or not." Isaiah's lips curved, a faint smile breaking through, and he tapped the ledger, his voice a low rumble. "Look at the merger. 1982. My name's there. Sold my stake, but I started it." Langston's eyes darted to the page, his breath catching, and the crowd split, half jeering, half whispering, a divide that sharpened the air. "He's got guts," Mia said, her nails still. "Or he's nuts," Greg shot back. The hook tightened. Langston's doubt was a wall cracking, and Isaiah's stand was shaking it loose. The lobby of First Heritage Bank trembled as Mr. Peter Langston's fingers traced the merger document, the chandeliers dimming under the weight of a truth unfolding, the marble floor cold beneath Isaiah Brooks's boots as he stood unwavering, his burlap sack a silent witness to his claim. Langston's glasses slipped fully now, his voice a hoarse whisper as he read aloud. "Isaiah Brooks, founder, Brooks Savings and Loan." merged with First Heritage, 1982. The words hit like a thunderclap, silencing the lobby, the air thick with the scent of old paper and stunned disbelief. Isaiah nodded, his tone steady as stone. Took every dime I had, worked the railroads, saved up, opened my bank for folks like me. Sold it when it grew, but it's mine at the root. Kelsey's jaw dropped, her ponytail limp, her voice a squeak. He's for real? Greg's smirk vanished, his pinstripe suit slumping as he stammered, "No way, this can't—" Ruth clapped her hands, her floral scarf bright as she cried, "I knew it. He's a legend." Dana's heels shifted, her eyes wide. "He founded it? That's insane." Tony's hand fell from his radio, his gruffness gone, his mutter soft. "Didn't see that coming." Langston looked up, his face paling, and met Isaiah's gaze, his voice trembling. "Mr. Brooks, I need to verify this, but if it's true—" Isaiah cut in, his eyes sharp. "It's true, and I'm here to see what you've done with my legacy." The lobby reeled, gasps, whispers, a stunned hush, and the hook slammed home. Isaiah's claim was a bomb, and the bank was crumbling under its blast. The lobby of First Heritage Bank settled into a charged stillness as Mr. Peter Langston clutched Isaiah Brooks' papers, the chandeliers casting fractured light across his gray suit, his glasses fogging as he grappled with the revelation shaking his world. Isaiah stood before him, his worn coat a mantle of history, his burlap sack a trove of proof that had turned laughter to ash, his eyes steady with a quiet fire that burned through the room. Langston straightened, his voice tight but softening. "Mr. Brooks, if this holds, and it looks like it might, you've got my apologies. We didn't know." Kelsey's hands trembled, her ponytail drooping as she whispered, I laughed at him." Greg shrank back, his pinstripe suit no shield now, his mutter faint. "Didn't mean no harm." Ruth smiled, her floral scarf a beacon as she nodded. "He deserves respect. Always did." Dana crossed her arms, her heels silent, her tone awed. "He built this. That's power." Isaiah raised a hand, his voice rolling out like a sermon over the hush. "Ain't about apologies. It's about remembering. I made this bank for folks who couldn't get in the door, not for you to laugh 'em out. You forgot that." Langston nodded, his jaw tight, and turned to Tony. "Stand down. He's welcome here." Tony stepped back, his radio quiet, his voice low. "Yes, sir." Isaiah's gaze swept the room, landing on Kelsey, then Greg. "Money don't make you better. It's what you do with it. That's my legacy." The lobby buzzed, nods, soft claps, and the hook deepened. Isaiah's lesson was a root-breaking stone, and the bank was feeling its weight. The lobby of First Heritage Bank glowed with a quiet shift as Isaiah Brooks's words sank in. The chandeliers steady now, their light softening the marble, the air clearing with the rustle of his papers and the hum of a crowd rethinking their scorn. Isaiah stood tall, his worn boots planted, his burlap sack at his side, his coat a testament to decades of grit, while Mr. Langston folded the documents, his gray suit crisp but humbled, his voice steady. "Mr. Brooks, you've got a place here. Always will. We'll dig into the archives. Make this right." Kelsey stepped from behind the counter, her ponytail loose, her eyes down as she murmured, "I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't know." Greg shuffled forward, his pinstripe suit wrinkled, his tone shaky. "Me too, man. I was out of line." Ruth beamed, her floral scarf bright as she clapped. "That's it. Give him his due." Dana nodded, her heels clicking once, her voice soft. "He's earned it, more than any of us." Tony rubbed his neck, his gruffness gone, his mutter sincere. "Didn't mean to push you, Mr. Brooks." Isaiah's lips curved, a faint smile breaking through, and he waved a hand, his voice warm but firm. "I ain't here to hold grudges. Life's too short. Just keep this place open to everyone, like I meant it to be." The crowd murmured, "He's class. Real deal." And Langston nodded, his tone resolute. "We will, sir. Starting today." The hook landed firm. Isaiah's grace was a tide lifting, and the bank was rising with it. The lobby of First Heritage Bank pulsed with a newfound reverence as Isaiah Brooks' presence reshaped the room, the chandeliers casting a golden glow over the marble, the air light with the scent of old paper and a promise reborn. Isaiah adjusted his cap, his worn coat settling around him, his burlap sack a quiet symbol of a past that had roared back to life, while his eyes traced the brass plaques with a pride no one could deny. Mr. Langston tucked the papers under his arm, his gray suit a shadow of his earlier doubt, his voice rising over the hush. "Folks, this man's the root of First Heritage. Brooks Savings built our foundation. We've got work to do, honoring that." Kelsey wiped her eyes, her ponytail limp, her whisper soft. "I feel awful. He's amazing." Greg nodded, his pinstripe suit slumping, his tone low. "Never thought I'd meet a guy like him." Ruth clapped again, her floral scarf aflutter, her voice bright. "He's a hero. Memphis should know." Dana smiled faintly, her heels still, her murmur awed. "A legend, right here." Tony crossed his arms, his radio silent, his voice gruff but warm. "Respect, Mr. Brooks. Full respect." Isaiah turned to Langston, his tone steady. "Don't just honor me. Honor the folks I built it for. That's the deal." Langston nodded, his glasses glinting, and called to Mia. "Get the board on the line. We're rewriting history today." The lobby buzzed. Nods, whispers, a swell of awe, and the hook sank deeper. Isaiah's legacy was a light breaking through, and the bank was basking in it. The lobby of First Heritage Bank stood still as Isaiah Brooks stepped forward, his worn boots tapping the marble, the chandeliers dimming as if to spotlight his words, the air thick with the rustle of his coat and the weight of a story unfolding. His burlap sack rested on the bench, his cap tilted back, his gray hair catching the light as he raised his voice, raspy but resonant, a preacher calling the flock home. "This bank wasn't born in boardrooms," he said, his tone rolling out like gravel over silk. "It came from sweat. Mine, my wife's, every worker who couldn't get a loan from the big shots downtown. I hauled freight, scrubbed floors, saved nickels till I had enough to open Brooks Savings, first bank in Memphis for folks like us." The crowd leaned in, their chatter gone. Kelsey's eyes wide, Greg's jaw slack while Langston adjusted his glasses, his breath held. "We grew, helped families buy homes, start shops," Isaiah continued, his gaze sweeping the room. "Merged with First Heritage and 'cause I wanted it to last, but it was never meant to forget its roots." Ruth's scarf slipped, her voice a whisper. "That's beautiful. He's the heart of this." Dana nodded, her heels quiet, her tone soft. "Never knew that history." Tony's gruffness softened, his mutter low. "Man's a giant." Isaiah's eyes landed on Langston, his voice firm. "You've got my bank. Don't lose its soul. Open the doors wider, not narrower." The lobby erupted. Soft claps, murmurs of "yes," and the hook landed hard. Isaiah's soul was the bank's, and it was waking up. The lobby of First Heritage Bank shimmered with a quiet revolution as Isaiah Brooks's speech settled over the room, the chandeliers glowing brighter now, their light dancing across the marble, the air clearing with the scent of blooming dogwoods drifting through the open doors. Isaiah stood tall, his worn coat a banner of triumph, his burlap sack a relic of a fight won, while Mr. Langston stepped beside him, his gray suit crisp but humbled, his voice rising with resolve. "Mr. Brooks, you've shaken us awake," he said, his glasses glinting as he faced the staff. "We're renaming a wing, the Brooks Legacy Hall, and we're launching a fund for small businesses. No red tape, just like you meant it." Kelsey clapped, her ponytail bouncing, her voice bright. "That's perfect. He deserves it." Greg nodded, his pinstripe suit relaxed, his tone sincere. "I'm in. Sign me up to help." Ruth beamed, her floral scarf aflutter, her cry loud. "Make it big. Tell the city." Dana crossed her arms, her heels tapping once, her smile faint. "He's changing everything." Tony grinned, his radio off, his voice warm. "About time this place had heart." Isaiah raised a hand, his tone steady but soft. "Don't do it for me. Do it for the next fella with a sack and a dream." Langston nodded, his voice firm. "It's a promise, sir. Starting now." The lobby swelled. Cheers, nods, a tide of change, and the hook sank in. Isaiah's fight was a seed, and the bank was growing anew. The lobby of First Heritage Bank exhaled as the day wound down, the chandeliers casting a warm glow over the marble, the air light with the rustle of Isaiah Brooks's papers being filed away, the hum of a crowd dispersing with a story to tell. Isaiah adjusted his cap, his worn boots scuffing as he slung his burlap sack over his shoulder, his coat settling around him like a cloak of victory, while Mr. Langston shook his hand, his gray suit a bridge between past and present, his voice warm. "Mr. Brooks, you've given us more than a history. You've given us a future." Kelsey smiled, her ponytail loose, her tone soft. "I'll never forget this. None of us will." Greg adjusted his tie, his pinstripe suit a shadow of his earlier scorn, his mutter earnest. "You're the real deal, sir. Changed my mind." Ruth waved as she left, her floral scarf bright, her voice ringing. "Tell Memphis, he's their hero." Dana nodded, her heels clicking toward the door, her whisper awed. "A legend walked in today." Tony tipped his cap, his gruffness gone, his tone firm. "Safe travels, Mr. Brooks. Come back any time." Isaiah turned to Langston, his eyes sharp. "Keep it honest. Don't let it slip." Langston nodded, his glasses steady and the lobby emptied, the weight lifting, the hook settling. Isaiah's mark was etched, and the bank was reborn. The lobby of First Heritage Bank faded into silence as Isaiah Brooks stepped through the glass doors into the Memphis dusk, the chandeliers dimming behind him, the marble floor still warm from his stand, the air carrying the faint hum of a city alive with his story. His worn boots crunched on the sidewalk, his burlap sack slung low, his coat a shadow against the skyline's glow, while the bank stood taller somehow, its brass plaques whispering his name. This wasn't just about an old man's claim. It was about a legacy that refused to be buried, a fight for the forgotten that turned laughter to reverence. Isaiah proved that roots run deep, and no sack is too small to hold a dream. So, what do you think, folks? Ever seen someone rise above the doubters? Share your tales below. We're all ears. If this story of grit and glory hit you square, smash that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Raven Stories for more. Oh, and one last thing. Where are you watching from in the USA? Drop your city in the comments and we'll see you in the next one.